my name is Jyoti Fernandes, and I'm from the Land Workers Alliance, and I'm here with a really interesting session on solidarity trade. As the Land Workers Alliance, we're part of La Via Campesina, which is a union of small-scale farmers across the world, and we have been thinking about the idea of trying to support social movements around the world through the idea of solidarity trade, which means not trade that's incredibly destructive. We've heard so much at this conference about how the international global trading systems can be such a force for destruction in the world, that there's so many projects around the world where they're taking land from monocultures to be shipped across the world, and it's taking land from small-scale farmers, from indigenous people, to be used for big monocultures. But we're thinking about the other side of it, because trade can be a force for destruction of land rights and, the environment, but it can also be a force for good if it's used in the right ways, ways to bring economic power to communities and to help rebuild the ecosystems and regain cultural identity for groups that are trading with us. But it's very important that we think very carefully about our trade system and how trade is used, particularly as a way to enhance food security, because in so many cases, international trade takes away from food security, but we'd like to find a way that we can use it in a small way to supplement what we can grow here most beautifully with all the farmers and growers here in the UK and across the world that are providing food for their own food security for their own communities, and enhance that through trade so that we can have bits of special things to kind of support our local food economies through trade. And it's really important that this kind of trade is trade that comes from agroecological farming systems, and it comes from initiatives that are rooted in communities and rooted in the empowerment of the people who will be providing those products. That means working with cooperatives, working with community groups, working with people on the ground who, need to keep control of that economic power and share it fairly so that they can provide better for their own communities. So in this session, we're going to introduce people that are part of two very exciting projects. The first is in the Amazon in Brazil. We're going to be speaking with the Kayapo about trading in Brazil nuts, because basically in January, I went to Brazil to visit and be a part of a gathering of the Kayapo in the Amazon, who are coming together to try and find ways to fight the destruction of the Amazon and to protect their territories, protect their livelihoods and cultural identity. And when I was there, one of the things I found out they wanted to do was to sell the Brazil nuts, which are wild, freely available in their forest that they've been cultivating and looking after on their territories for a very, very long time. So we're going to hear from them about how we can support them to import the nuts into our countries. And I'm looking at trying to bring those into the UK and sell them in solidarity with the indigenous people of the Amazon. And secondly, we're going to be hearing from the Canaan Palestinian Free Trade Association about how trade with Palestinian farmers can support their economic autonomy and their cultural identity and protection of their territories as well. So I'm going to pass you on now to Igor, who will be interpreting for Bepkrwa, a young Kayapo.
Bepkrwa, você pode tirar o mudo do seu microfone e pode se apresentar e começar a falar.
Tá ok, então, em português, né? Tá ok. Boa tarde, pessoal, né, todos os iguais. Eu me chamo Bepkrwa Kayapo, de Chile, Kayapo. Hoje eu sou cacique, né, da minha aldeia no Haiti. Hoje estamos, né, nessa reunião hoje para nós falarmos um pouco, né, da nossa vida, da nossa realidade na aldeia. Então, a gente vai falar um pouco, né, da associação que trabalha com a gente. A associação está com mais de 20 anos aí com a gente, com vários projetos e com vários projetos de geração de renda, né? E uma das principais é a safra da castanha. Então, nós temos cerca de 40 aldeias nós temos na associação, diversas regiões, diversas localidades, cada aldeia tem sua dificuldade, né, e para poder buscar castanhas. A família toda tá incluída na coleta de castanha, o pai, a mãe, o filho, os irmãos, né, então envolve a comunidade toda da aldeia, todo mundo quer ter a sua renda, né, então a nossa associação, ela dá um pouco de apoio, né, para a gente buscar essas castanhas, castanhais, e a gente tem, né, como geração de renda a principal é a castanha, então a gente está aí, toda sábado nós estamos querendo tirar mais e mais, e nós precisamos falar um pouco da nossa realidade. É um pouco dificultoso, mas a gente tem essa vida na floresta, a gente tem nossos rios, que é um meio de transporte, né? Nós temos depois nos castanhais o meio terrestre para poder carregar, né? E a gente tem esse caminho todo para a gente tirar essa nossa castanha. E a gente ter esse apoio, né? A gente tem essa geração de renda, é pouca, mas é o que ajuda a gente, é o que a gente precisa, é o que a gente corre atrás, e é isso, né? A nossa principal geração de renda de nós, caiapós, da Associação Floresta Protegida, é a safra da castanha. Todo ano nós estamos aí para coletar mais e mais para a gente ter essa geração de renda. E é isso.
Okay, thank you. Obrigado, Bepkrwa. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Bepkrwa was saying that he's a leader of his village called Ngometi. It's a village located in the Xingu River, and he's part of this association called Protected Forest Association. It's an NGO funded in the 90s, and it's going on until today. And he was explaining to us that with the needs of income from the communities, the gathering and selling of the Brazil nut is a very, very important activity for them right now. Not only because it generates income for the families, but it also helps them stay inside their territories. It helps them protect their territories because they have to gather the nuts so far away from the villages, and annually they keep coming back and seeing if there's invasions, you know, how healthy is their forest. So it's a very, very important activity for the protection, and also it involves the whole family. When there is the season to gather the seeds in the forest, the whole families leave their villages and go to those sites where they camp, and they spend several days there just collecting and breaking those big shells to bring the nuts to the village and then sell it to the buyers. So that's it. That's what he said.
Could you explain how the indigenous Kayapo protect the Xingu Basin, and what it's like for them to be able to have to deal with the many different things that are influencing the rainforest, and how they protect their territory?
E Camu, ela está perguntando como que os Mebengocré protegem o território de vocês.
Hoje, muito bem, né? Hoje nós estamos com a geração passada e nós, novos caciques, novas lideranças, novos guardiões, né, da floresta. Hoje nós fazemos monitoramento, visitamos as linhas, né, que faz o território, visitamos de vez em quando as outras aldeias, fazemos alguns monitoramentos, nós, como indígenas, né, fazemos em terra e fluvial também, meia fluvial. Hoje nós não temos, dentro da associação, nós não temos nenhuma aldeia mexendo com ilícitos, né, com pedra de madeira, com garimpo. Nossas aldeias da associação, nós não mexemos com ilícitos. Hoje nós temos a nossa principal, né, ajuda, né, é a geração de renda da castanha que eu citei. Então, hoje nós estamos muito conectados uma aldeia a outra, um cacique a outro, para a gente poder fazer esse monitoramento do nosso jeito, né? E também nós temos algumas ajudas sendo da FUNAI, sendo de outras ONGs também, que a gente faz esse monitoramento do nosso território Kayapó.
Jyoti, Bepkrwa was explaining that they have a big in the Protected Forest Association. We have a big project that it's called monitoring and protecting the forest, and it basically works as we gather support from different partners and donors, and also the selling from the Brazil nuts. It all helps us to monitor the territory. So we're constantly surveilling the borders. We have currently 9 outposts, guard posts installed in strategic spots of the territory, where we maintain a team, from not only Kayapo, but also non-indigenous, to help them in certain issues. So this is made every year throughout since I think 10 years ago we have been doing this, and also as a means of discourage the engaging in illegal activities such as logging and gold mining and things like that. The association only permits a village to be associated with unless it doesn't engage in any of these illegal activities. So it's not permitted from any Kayapo to engage in illegal activity like selling fish from the territory out to the non-indigenous. That is not permitted. So this is a mechanism created to discourage the villages to engage in activities, illegal activities. Sorry.
Thank you. I thought, would you like to show the video now that you?
Yes, I think it would be nice.
Okay, and then we'll have more questions after after Nasser speaks.
Okay.
mấy bám mấy quả tươi ta mấy mờ bức cả ya này cô này bà mẹ kami ngana nữ kamaru kami nhia mê đi kamoi nhóc Bepkrwa Kayapo krai mấy ibam ikwa tươi kukrajo dung nào kết rồi
nam ne me ba ku kam mana oi ro me te mon ti do pi u kam ne pi u re ya me ba kam mi ngana nu ga ji ta mi ni như kam me ba ku mrai ku te o ku ra ri ba
Pilko ya bata pilko bina boya kamai kukrajo marina
ba ku me hu ri ara ku ba jo ne ya jo ne kam me on ku be nyong me cha ya be ya ku ki ka ti ba ba ku kam ba ku ta ri hu ri ne me pi u re kam ku ri nyong kam ku ne me pi jo u ku ví dụ mấy bao nhiêu cuộc này giờ mấy bà quả tư nhau cuộc này giờ mấy cùng mấy ca này ok mấy ca này phụ nữ ok nhá hari bao nhiêu kamaru
Karo jabede karo wabe karo jabede karo wabe karo tana wabe pi u kukraja pi u kam mengarade
nên nó có nơi không biết chặt
ba ju ben o kre ba pi u ni no creo tengi ha ba toi ne ho ja ba iken mer bege I tab ju ikra kam tab ju nya ku te I jo pe nya tum ra mi mer be iken mer be ho ge ku te I jo pe nya pi u ba ni krao ye creo tem nya ku te ku kwere ne jo kama krene kot ku te mari ka ju ba amin pi u ni ngon kren karo je biri re karo wabe karo je biri re karo wabe karo tane wabe karo tane wabe
Thank you for that beautiful movie. And I was really struck when I was lucky enough to go to the Amazon at how well protected and beautiful the territory of the Kayapo is, right in the middle of it's the heart of the Amazon. And all of us depend on the Amazon for our survival. We need it to sequester all the carbon from climate change. All the biodiversity is very important to us, but it's a territory that was created and protected and managed by the indigenous people who live in the Amazon. And but the nuts that they harvest from there, they were actually planted and tended by the members of the Kayapo and can help support their efforts to protect their territories. I remember seeing an aerial photo of the Amazon when all the fires were going, and the territory of the Kayapo was intact, and in many cases the fires actually stopped at the border of their territories, which was how important they were to the protection of that area, where Brazil has had a terrible problem with so much of their land being cleared, and the government under Bolsonaro actually supporting people to go out and start fires to clear the territory to plant these monoculture plantations of soya, which is exported in many cases as animal feed to Europe. And this is a source of protein. If we're able to import Brazil nuts, it's a source of protein that we can import in, which is very different from the monocultures of soya, that are planted, by large multinational corporations, large farmers, which destroy the Amazon. We're actually getting a source of protein that comes from a system that's managed by the indigenous people, that enables them to have a livelihood for their community and also to protect a territory that's extremely important to all of us. So now we're going to hear from Nasser, who is coming up to us from Palestine, to hear about how the products that their association produces and exports support their protection of territories and their cultural identity.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jyoti. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I come to you from Palestine, from Canaan, Palestine, and the Palestine Fair Trade Association. I would like to share my PowerPoint at this stage. And basically, I represent two organizations founded together in Palestine around 2004. Canaan Palestine, which is processing and export of olive oil, almonds, and wheat and other food products that is sourced from a network called the Palestine Fair Trade Association. And the Palestine Fair Trade Association is a network of approximately 60 cooperatives in about 60 different villages, managing approximately 7,000 hectares of organic olives and about 400 hectares of almonds, and in between there are wheat and other products. When we started the project, we basically first started the Palestine Fair Trade Association to organize the farmers towards trading with fair trade markets around the world, because the farmers were basically lacking opportunities for markets. The farmers have been cultivating olives traditionally for millennia. Some of the olive trees we have in Palestine are thousands of years old. Palestine is the place where cultivation began, the original cultivation of food, where language developed from the land of Canaan. We're looking at history that precedes the biblical stories by 7,000 to 8,000 years, mainly around agriculture. And agriculture meant to Palestine life, to the Palestinian community to this day. They see the fertility lens is the main thing that informs our social organization and social culture. So regeneration and regenerative practices and seeing life in the lands of fertility is the way we look at the fields, at the life in the fields, at the way we grow food, and at the social structure as well. This is testimonial in the landscape with ancient olive trees that Palestinians have been cultivating, that passed down through generations, grown on terraces in the hillside of the West Bank. Seeing these olive trees that are ancient in age is also informing the way we look at life in a form of reciprocity. We are cultivating trees that have thousands of years old. That means many generations have passed down these trees. So the activities of reciprocity towards life, towards future lives, towards future children is what mainly motivates a lot of the farmers, because these trees take about 15 years to bear fruit and to be given. So the farming activities go beyond the immediate return to the continuity and food production. And that, when I saw that about 15 years ago, that this ecosystem is being threatened. It was being threatened mainly due to plummeting prices, and monoculture agriculture or agri-industry here affected us, not in that there are plantations coming to take the land and establish monoculture olive fields. No, we have other threats to the land that are taking the lands, which I will talk about them. But monoculture industrial farming have brought prices, unrealistic prices for small-scale farming to survive. So farmers are being paid, they were being paid less than €2 per kilo of olive oil. A lot of farmers in other contexts of the world are still being paid that. Today, our farmers are receiving between 7 to 8 euros for olive oil, and that's the need was to bring the olive oil to a market that allow for a viable price, a sustainable price, that for the value return from the crop allows the farmers to continue their farming activities. So to that end, that's what we established the Palestine Fair Trade Association to organize the farmers under fair trade standards in order to bring to make route to the market through fair trade. And we were successful in building partnerships with people like Zaytoon in the UK that now sells our olive oil in many of the shops, Oxfam shops and Whole Foods and others in the UK, as well as Equal Exchange selling at Sainsbury's the Equal Exchange label. And so through partnerships with like-minded organizations like Zaytoon and Equal Exchange and others around the world, we were able to lift the farmers from poverty and afford them a viable price, a viable market, a long-term market opportunities, and a terms that pays the farmers within 2 weeks so they can finance their other farming activities and crop. Another threat to our farming is the land grab, is about the settler activities. We are under occupation, under a political occupation, and the settler activities here, their interest is in taking the land, is in overcoming our cultural presence, and our cultural presence is being Palestinians and being Palestinian communities. And the attack not only on the Palestinians themselves as a social community, there is an attack on displacing Palestinians and pushing Palestinians into urban centers, but also attack on the olive trees themselves. Just last week we had a settler attack on one of our cooperatives called Der Balut by uprooting thousands of olive trees. And here the attack is twofold: an attack on viability and viable relationships and sustainable relationship between the Palestinians and the land, an attack on the trees themselves, because the trees are what making Palestine Palestine. That these are this is a place-making process. We planted these trees from the land of Canaan to this day. This is what makes the place, our familiar place to us. And the attack on the trees is disturbing that scene of what Palestine is and making it into something else. So that ecosystem that is ancient in its presence, that allows for thousands of years old trees to continue to give, that ecosystem have survived through a relationship between the Palestinian communities or the Canaanites, what is now Palestine and Palestinians, to the ecosystem in a way that is where the social community is integral to the ecosystem. The olive trees that you see living for 2,000 years and 3,000 years and some 5,000 years, they live that long because of that relationship. This is the tree in front of you on this slide is a tree that is being pruned to be young every 5 to 6 years to 7 years based on the climate and how much rainfall and the conditions of the climate. Farmers make the trees youth again. So the youthness of the tree is made by the farmers, and by the other vegetations grown. The soil health is nurtured by the other vegetations that the farmers grow between the trees, and the animals there is in between the trees. So this relationship's what allows these trees to live this long, and that's an ecosystem that's integral together, that have grown to be a natural food forest, supporting the communities and also supporting the life of the ecosystem itself in various forms of life and vegetations and animals and birds and people. Some of these trees, we have this tree in front of you, these have turned into 5 trees. This actually, the trunk of this tree on the ground is one trunk. This is approximately above 5,000 to 6,000 years old tree. And the beauty of this, that these trees are still giving, they're still bearing fruit and feeding people. And that's something, it's a treasure. It's a treasure to keep and to nurture, to learn from, to study, to keep for generations to come. So now the project has taken way beyond just finding route to the market. We are fully invested in the life and nurturing the life of the ecosystem, which means supporting the livelihood of the farmers, supporting the livelihood of the trees. This tree and the tree in distance, that's also has 10 into 4. These are over thousands of years old trees, and supporting the ecosystem and the nurturing the soil life that allows this ecosystem to flourish. This has become our goal, and raising awareness with the farmers, and has become our practice, that we are in part learning from the farmers and in part raising awareness to the value of these traditions and these practices and these ecosystems that we are nurturing, and sharing this value with the farmers and sharing it with the world in order to protect it and benefit from it, and for the farmers also to have value return from it and be conscious of its value to protect and learn from. Today we have active programs that pushes what allowed us to continue to have these trees is the food forest concept of intercropping with leguminous plants, lentils and fava beans and chickpeas and so on, and veg that we grow in between the patches of olive oil on the terraces and the valleys, which in itself led to our cuisine with the cheese and Lebanese eggs and fool and hummus, falafel, all of these. But what you find around you with an olive farmer, sheep grazing, goat grazing, putting manures in the soil and mowing the soil, producing food, at the same time planting these legumes trees that have defined our cuisine, legumes plants, that nitrogen enrichment, creating more carbon in the soil, making the soil taking more water, withstanding drought conditions during the summer, storing more water, and making the soil storing more carbon. All of this at the same time, so we're bringing this back and to life and nurturing the life. It's alive, but we're giving it value. And at the same time, we have olive trees that are 3,000 years old, and given we're planting thousands, we've planted over 32,000 trees this year of olive trees of these original varieties, original plants that have stood the test of time, and they continue to be yielding the best olive oil ratio, better than everything we've tried from new varieties. And aside from the fact that they are a millennia long investment. So this is what our project is doing, aside from producing olive oil. And now we moved into other crops, making value of orchard crops for the almonds, for the farmers, in order to find other venues and opportunities to make the land rewarding to the farmers, bring in a value crop that is exportable, non-perishable. Also, we have generated a program that brings back original wheat varieties. We are developed products with wheat, friki, which is an ancient grain. We grow it and harvest it green because it still has the vegetable characteristics after we've flame roasted and sun dried. And we're sourcing that. We presented these products in order to make value for wheat products, because wheat has become cheap also for monoculture agriculture, and we don't want to lose our wheat production and be food dependent. So in order to support our food security and food sovereignty, we are recalling old varieties or ancient varieties of our landrace wheat and growing it and making sure to see which wheat are drought resistant and capable of producing at the same level as the modified wheats, and can compete in quantity, but also it competes highly on nutrition value. And we're bringing these wheat varieties. We worked with 15, 16 varieties, and we settled on the 3 or 4, and we're propagating these wheats and putting it back in the hands of farmers and expanding them. So through these products, we have an array of products in the market today. We are in 20 different countries. We have a big processing facility that processes all these foods and export it to our partners around the world. State-of-the-art processing for the olive oil. So we are competing as far as the quality, high quality, but also we are unparalleled between the original varieties and the biodiverse setting our plants are growing in. So the nutrition value, the level of polyphenols in our olive oil, unmatched in the market with anything that's coming from monoculture plantation. So we have been able to protect the olive crop from disappearing. We raised the prices from $2 to $8 for the farmers. We've created market for the almond crop. We brought back original varieties of wheat seeds, and now we're supporting independent farming of wheat for the local economy primarily, and also bringing value from abroad as well. All of that is being done with a project that values fair principles, empowering women, a democratic representation, democratic governance, and as well as sharing with the world through a vehicle of exchange where people from around the world come to our festivals and showroom and come to the harvest and do harvesting with the farmers and live with the farmers and exchange ideas and reciprocity of food and hospitality. And that's in a short summary of the project, trying to be in a 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nasser. It's so beautiful to see with both of your examples, the way that the trees are nurtured, the way that the animals and the soil and the community and the economy come together. And it's actually an ecosystem, the way they all work together. It's just
Right.
completely the opposite from the way that monocultures and, this really extractive economy works. It's actually nurturing regeneration of both your community and the soil within an economy, which is a really beautiful thing to see. And it's also what I was seeing with the Kayapo in the rainforest. A question I have for you is, we were working with Brazil and with the Kayapo here with the Landworkers Alliance to try to import the Brazil nuts, and we're at the very beginning of this journey. And your association has really developed this supply chain to be able to export and do this very well. Do you have some tips to us about how we start? We know that there's the possibility for getting 20 tons of Brazil nuts from the Kayapo territory in the Amazon that they can collect and harvest and sell. And it would be nice to hear from you about how we can develop this supply chain further.
Certainly, the main thing that what we did is at the beginnings was, of course, building partnerships, and that was key in building a local system of value chain and transparent and auditable and accountable, and to bring the quality and through and show transparent verification of the accountability, environmental and social, in the value chain. And I think there is a lot of people looking for that and for all products, and then putting those value chains out and connect with multiple partners around the world who are trading with the Brazil nuts, and show them what you do, and try to build multiple partnerships in order to have diversity and diversify your market. That's also has been our strategy, and it also enriches our knowledge. And hopefully you will get somebody who's super interested in what you're doing and will lend you a hand in expanding the organization and the production. But that's the way. The key is you work inward first and build up and make it visible.
Thank you. We have another question here that says, are there projects or subsidies from the government, and I think they're asking in Brazil, to protect and support the land management and commercialization of your community or others in Brazil? I just wanted to quickly note that, I actually think the Brazilian government's quite against what you're doing. So, is not so supportive of the Kayapo, but I want to hear from you on that. But I have been working with this association to apply to the UK government for funding to help support the supply chain to the UK. And so we're awaiting the results of that application for funding to help support some of this infrastructure for storage and etc. now. But Igor, Bepkrwa, we'd like to hear from you about that.
Hello, thank you for the question. Yes, the government does have a budget for directed to protecting not only indigenous territories, but also in other kinds of protected areas like national parks. But the question is, this budget is not sufficient. It's not even close to what it takes to make a good management of those big territories. For instance, the Kayapo territories, they are 11 million hectares wide, so it's really, really, really big. It's the size of some European countries. Of course, the budget is not enough. And also currently, our government, as most of you must know, is not very favorable of protecting those lands, because their main interest is to open it to the big exploitation of gold mining and monocultures also, to export soy and cattle to make immediate money for the economy. So this is a big challenge, a big problem. But there are projects that the money does not come from the government. The money comes from supporter, abroad supporter, from Europe, from United States, Canada, and that way the Kayapo can be helped in protecting their territories.
Thank you so much. I've got a question here for Nasser. It says, with the poor returns of profit, do the PFTA farmers have other sources of income? Is there any collaboration with other olive oil small producers in other parts of the world to build up resilience mechanisms, trade and technical support? Nasser, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. Yes, a lot of PFTA farmers have other crops. It depends on the terrain where their villages are. Some of the farmers mainly have olive crops, but then they will do the intercropping as other crops, seasonal crops. Some areas where there is flatlands, the farmers will have either irrigated crops, vegetables, or other annual crops. So there are multiple farming activities, and some of the membership also do have jobs other than farming if they are in a mountainous area, and some they have mainly the olive oil. So it varies. It's a big network. We have over 2,000 farming families, and that varies from context to context. As far as collaboration with others, we don't have an existing program, but we do other opportunities sometimes of research that we collaborate through, whether from Italy or Greece. We do have our own research. We set up CORE, Canaan Organic Research and Extension Center, that mainly is developing the organic farming, and the ancient olive trees and nurturing the olive trees is part of the agenda, as well as growing almonds organically is part of that agenda. So we have multiple research and development programs, and yes, there is collaboration, but not a specific one that is long-term. We collaborate based on certain projects, sometimes get funded by NGOs or foreign NGOs that seeking more information from Palestine.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's a great value when different organizations work together to learn from each other. Tom, I'll run a question to Igor and Bepkrwa. Are there other natural products besides Brazil nuts and acai in the Amazon? Is someone who remembers speaking with agroforesters from the Cerrado, and they had a whole range of different other products. I know I can mention that I have these beautiful earrings and this beautiful bracelet made by the Kayapo women when I visited the women's group, and I would very much like to import them to support the women as well. But if there's other products you could mention.
Yes, there are other projects. For instance, there is a product that we are recently selling to to some cosmetic companies. It's called the kumaru. I don't know if Jyoti has ever heard of it, but it's also a seed from a big tree, and these nuts they produce an excellent oil that the cosmetic industry is exploring a lot on their products. So we are exporting directly to England, and also handcraft, like the ones Jyoti is wearing. It is also a very, very good source of income for the Kayapo. And I think it's important to mention that all those products, we have a quality and origin stamp. I don't actually know the right term used in English, but it's like it's a ISO stamp for quality and from origin, and it comes with a little QR code that if you use it with your cell phone, you can collect, you can see the information about who is the family who gathered that particular nut, when was it collected and processed, informations about the territory, things like that.
That sounds like such a useful way to try and make those connections, so we really know and we can feel a little bit stronger that it's truly solidarity trade and not just a co-option of fair trade, because there's a question about that. And I think in essence, it's really important, those connections, the same as it is with community-supported agriculture, to really try and for consumers to educate themselves about the communities that they're supporting through solidarity trade, and the issues that are being supported throughout the whole value chain, which organization, who's profiting from it, what shares are going to what, and what kind of agriculture and what sorts of economics it's supporting. Now, we're going to run out of time soon. There was a question about challenges, but perhaps we don't have time to go into all the challenges, because there's many that both of your communities face, and this is the reason we want to show you solidarity. So, yes, could we just have a closing thing from both of you, about 3 minutes long, just explaining, just to say what you need to say and where people can start to begin to buy these products from, and yeah, anything else you want to say? Thanks. Let's see, Nasser, do you want to go first with your closing?
Sure.
Igor.
First of all, I would like to thank you for chairing this session, and learned a lot about the Amazon. It's a very beautiful video and very interesting. And thank the audience. We have great product under Zaytoon label. You can go to zaytoon.org in the UK, and you can find it at Oxfam shops, at Whole Foods, at a lot of community stores. This olive oil comes as a gift from warm-hearted Palestinian farmers to you, and it's full of love and full of nutrition. And obviously, we look at this as an exchange. We hope you like it and come and learn more about the farmers here in Palestine sometime. Thank you.
Bepkrwa, estão perguntando se você quer falar umas palavras finais aí, não sei, agradecer, falar mais alguma coisa que a gente não tinha dito, mas para fechamento, coisa bem rápida, breve.
Pois é, então, em Bepkrwa, né? Agora, a partir de hoje, em Bepkrwa, a gente, da Associação Flora Protegida, nós, Kayapós, nós, ainda mais nós jovens, nós queremos proteger a nossa reserva indígena Kayapó, nós queremos proteger a fauna, os animais, né, a nossa vida, o nosso habitat, a nossa casa, né, que é a floresta, a nossa mata. Então, é isso, a gente está nessa preservação, a gente quer continuar, a gente quer ser índio ainda. Ontem, hoje, amanhã, sempre nós queremos ser índio. Nós vamos fazer de tudo para proteger, né, as nossas áreas, as nossas florestas. E é isso, conto com vocês, conto com muita parceria de todos. Se um amigo passar isso adiante, a gente vai ter esse apoio, a gente vai conseguir manter a nossa vida hoje e sempre, né, como Kayapo, Bepkrwa, né, como os nativos do chamado Brasil, né, que nós chamamos de Bepkrwa, né, que é a nossa terra. Então, eu acho que é isso. Agradeço por participar dessa reunião e qualquer coisa estou disponível. Eu, como cacique, né, estou disponível aí. Beleza?
Bepkrwa was saying that from now on we can call each other friends, and he's saying thank you very much for the opportunity and for listening. And he was stressing out that the Floresta Protegida organization is its main goal is to support the livelihood of the families and the protection of the forests, and that any kind of support will be very, very welcome. I have put some contacts here in the chat. I don't know if the organization can pass it out, I don't know if there's another platform so we can share this kind of information. Yes. But it would be good, it would be nice. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Igor, Bepkrwa, and Nasser, for being here to share. It's always good for people to make the connection to really know where these products are coming from, because there's so many labels and the world is so globalized. It's so hard to know, where our products are coming from. One thing I really noticed with both of you is that there were elders there who had planted trees that were there for this generation. And there were people planting trees as part of your ecosystems to be there for the next generation. And it's such a beautiful thing to see that there's these regenerative forms of a way we can feed ourselves that are just enhancing things for the next generation. They're not extractive. They're building food security. They're building our ecosystems. They're building our global solidarity. And that's something we want to support. And a plug for following the Landworkers Alliance. We will be importing the nuts. We're trying to work it all out. Now we're waiting for the nuts that are being harvested now in Brazil to be tested for aflatoxins. They're going to come by a boat to Southampton. I'm going to go with my little van, pick them up with the beautiful packaging, with the art from the Kayapo, and start selling them. So we will ask people to be selling them for us here in the UK as a form of solidarity, whether it's in their box schemes or in their shops or wherever it is. And also, we're going to try and find a way to be buying and selling the olive oil and the beautiful products from Kenya as well. So please stay in touch with us and support us in building this solidarity trade.
Thank you.
Thank you.